Day 3 at the Alexander Stadium in Birmingham of the Kodak 3A's Championships and Commonwealth Games Trials. And as with Gateshead last weekend, we're poised for a historic event in British athletics. Good afternoon to you on the last day of these championships as we look forward to no less than 15 finals, including a grand and momentous climax, the confrontation we've all been looking forward to for more than a decade on British soil. Yes, after their heats yesterday, two of the greatest names in the history of British sport at last tread the same starting line on home ground. Steve Ovett and Seb Coe.
To the back straight for the final time then. Coe still holds.
To Dalton Grant in the event. 2:20. Not really very close on either of his 3 attempts at 2:25, but nonetheless he'll be pleased enough.
On the track, it's time for the men's 400 metres final. You're seeing Phil Brown, one of our most experienced men in this event. A man who's won so many relay medals in his time, but bidding now for a place in the Commonwealth Games team in the individual 400 metres. Phil Brown drawn here in lane 3. And it should be a very competitive race indeed, this. Todd Bennett, who, like Brown, has figured in so many of our successful relay teams over the years, but now it's that individual place in his mind. Run in many 3A's finals, the best he's ever placed is 3rd. Here's the full lineup then. The Sierra Leone athlete Felix Sandy goes in lane 1. Todd Bennett of Solent in lane 2. Phil Brown, one of 3 Birchfield runners in this field, in lane 3. Paul Sanders, the other Solent man, in lane 4. Mark Thomas of Birchfield in 5. Peter Crampton, the European junior champion, the 20-year-old Yorkshireman from Bradford, lane 6. In lane 7, another Birchfield man, Steve Thomas, and Gary Cadogan of Haringey runs in lane 8. The notable man, Englishman, missing from this lineup, of course, the injured Derek Redmond, the United Kingdom record holder. And sadly, the news looks bad for Derek. It doesn't seem as if he's going to be fully fit by the time the Commonwealth Games come around. So I guess that the first 3 places here will be the men to go on the plane to Auckland. Bennett, at the age of 27, already has 2 Commonwealth gold medals in his collection in the relay. And his clash here with Phil Brown, who's looked in very good form this weekend. Brown on his outside in lane 3 will be one of the features of this race. Bit of a problem at the start. There's a piece of paper that's blown onto the track. It's a very, very windy day here in the Alexander Stadium. And the official, quite rightly, saw that it had disturbed the concentration of the runners as it fluttered across the track. And the starter asked them to stand and go back to their marks again. So on the inside, we've got Felix Sandy of Sierra Leone, who recently finished 4th, by the way, in the African Championships. Todd Bennett, lane 2. Phil Brown in 3. Paul Sanders, lane 4. Mark Thomas in lane 5. Peter Crampton, lane 6. Steve Thomas in lane 7. And Gary Cadogan, nearest the camera here, in lane 8. Just to underline how close this race is likely to be, 3 athletes in the semi-finals all run exactly the same time, 46.79. And really, with the exception of Derek Redmond and young Wayne MacDonald, all our top Englishmen are in this lineup. They're away this time. Todd Bennett made a good start in the red and white stripes, and the other Solent athlete, Paul Sanders, also going well. Phil Brown there in lane 3, some way back on the man outside him, Sanders, at the moment. And Mark Thomas going well in lane 5. Peter Crampton, the big Yorkshireman in the red and yellow vest, looking strong too. Mark Thomas in the middle, holding his form round the bend. Bennett's got a bit of work to do, in fact, now on the inside, but starts to come through. Mark Thomas leading at the moment. On the inside, Todd Bennett finishing very strongly, and Phil Brown finishing strongest of all. And it's going to be Brown first, Bennett second, Crampton third. A very satisfied smile for winner, runner-up and bronze medalist, because they surely all clinched their Commonwealth Games places with that run. Phil Brown's had his disappointments in recent years. He didn't make the individual event for our Olympic team. That will be very satisfying for him, Steve Cram.
Well, Alan, that's got to be the best run we've seen from Phil for quite a long time, and I think a little bit of experience told here. As we've said before, windy conditions down the back straight. Phil Brown and Todd Bennett have run a sensible race over the first two, and they're coming through in the last 50 metres. But I was delighted to see Peter Crampton. We can see here that long stride of his. He's finishing the fastest, actually, and he just misses getting in front of Todd Bennett. But hopefully by finishing third, he'll probably still go to the Commonwealth Games.
And he really came up strongly on Mark Thomas there in the straight to overtake him.
And slightly remarkably for Phil Brown, that in fact is his first ever outdoor 3A's senior title. He won titles as a junior and as a youth, and now he's one of the handful of people who've won them at all age groups.
So Phil Brown, the relay specialist, will go for an individual medal and will, of course, will be a key member of our relay squad, I'm sure of that, in Auckland in January. And good to see Peter Crampton, who's had so many injury problems, the European junior champion, overcoming them and earning his place in what will be his first senior championships. Phil Brown, the winner.
And earlier we saw Dalton Grant clear 2 meters 20.